Hey everyone, welcome back. So I've been away for a while, I've been on holiday and I had a really awesome time. I'm really happy to be back now and I'm really excited to say that we're working on I'm the Resurrection. This is part 1. I really hope you enjoy it, guys. This is Stone Roses classic. Alright, so let's have a look at the first bit of guitar which features in I'm the Resurrection, and it just so happens to be around the 40-second mark there, and depending on who you are you could call it the pre-chorus or chorus number 1 because there's going to be a lot of extended parts later on. Anyway, I'm just using a single coil guitar here with a little bit of chorus, and we're going to start this part off with a bit of a lead in. It just sounds like this. And we're just using our middle finger at the 7th fret of our E and going 7, 6, 7. Pinky finger then going over to the 9th fret and playing 9, 7, 6. And then we're going to drop down 2 frets to a big 4th fret there, G sharp note. Anyway, we're then going to follow up that part with the chord. And in this case it's going to be a G sharp minor. Because we're in the key of B major, it means that going into G sharp minor will be the relative minor. Maybe useful to know in the future there. And I always think it's quite important at this point to accent some of the high notes. And then we're going to go into a hell of a lot of riffs afterwards. And I should just mention, because we're in the key of B major, we're going to be using a lot of B major pentatonic type scales there. So I always think it's a good idea. You could start your middle finger on the root, and you could do a sort of pattern 2 major pentatonic. And a little bit lower down we've got pattern 1 as well. Again, that's just B major pentatonic there. Maybe useful to know later on. Anyway, so we're going to do that G sharp minor chord and then we're going to do our first riff, and it just sounds like this. We're going to go from the 6th fret of the D and then go 4, 6 and then 4th fret of the G, and in context it just works like this. Afterwards we're then going to jump over to our B string now. It's going to be quite a tricky part of this. We've got to land all the way up to the 9th fret of our B, and we're going to go 9, 7, 9, 7. And then we're going to introduce our G string now and go 8th fret of the G to the 7th of the B, back to the 8th of the G. Going down 2 frets to the 6th fret of the G, down to the 4th, and then rolling our index finger over to the 4th of the D. Just to review, this is what we've got so far. So we're going to pause for just a moment at this point and then play that 4th fret of the D another time, hammering onto the 6th, then 4th fret of the G, and then 6, 4, 6 on the D again. We're then at this point going to jump a few strings back down to our low 4th fret there, G sharp note, and we're going to do a pentatonic sort of run. So we're going to be doing 4th fret, pausing for a moment, then 7, 4/6, 4/6 on the A and D, then 4/6 on the G, sliding up 2 frets to the 8th, 7/9 on the B, and then this is the tricky part, we're then going to jump down back to the 4th fret of the G. Again, to review, this is what we've got so far. We're then going to be doing a sort of descending run, going to the 6th fret of the D, down to the 4th, then doing a bit of back and forth between the 6th fret of the A and the 4th of the D, down to the 4th of the A. We'll then go into an F sharp chord, and we'll finish the part off with this riff. And that's twice on the 7th fret of the A, then once on the 6th fret, then again, then pinky finger over to the 9th fret of the E, middle finger back to the root. So we're now going to check out the guitar for the verse, and it's just going to sound like this. So we're going to be starting with a B major chord, and I like to play a nice simple version of that, just sort of Hendrix shaped version, just 3 notes there. And that's so we can have our pinky finger free, so we can go over to the 9th fret of the G there, so we can put that on and off, which makes the chord from a B major into a B suspended 4th. So the first thing we need to do is just get that rhythm down. You could also arpeggiate it if you want to. Either way, we're then going to move on to the second chord. And it's going to be quite a strange one this. We're going to be barring the 9th fret at the D, G and B strings. And this is essentially just an E chord. Usually we're used to doing it like that, or down here. And all we've done is just shuffle some of the notes around. So now the lowest note we're going to be playing is going to be a B note, or the 5th if you like. So they're just in a different order, but we're still implying that E chord. And then we're going to go one further, and we're going to add in another shape and embellish the chord slightly. We're going to put our middle finger on the 10th fret of the B there, and our ring finger on the 11th fret of the D. And that creates an E6 suspended 4th, or we can just call it an embellishment if you like. You see the Rolling Stones do it quite a lot in their writing. So those are the shapes we're now going to use. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by playing the E just barred. Then we're going to bring the embellishment on. Then we're going to play it off and hammer it on. And again. And then we're going to play it on and then off. All together. we're going to do a transitional riff back into our B major chord. So we're going to go 7, 9 on the A, 7 on the D, then back down 9, 7 on the A, and then ninth fret there on the D. Back into the B major. And at this point we're then going to do a riff. We're going to be sliding up from the 9th fret to the 11th on the G, middle finger on the 10th fret of the B, and then back down, and then again round the chords once more. You'll notice that little riff gets played in the middle of all the verses, just sounds like this. For the second time around the chords there, the only difference I had was just the sort of rhythm that we had for that transitional riff. Instead of going, we would hold off just a moment longer and go, and in context that just sounds like this. So there's going to be a little bit of variation in those pre-choruses, and in particular the third pre-chorus. I'm just going to start from the ascending pentatonic run and I'll show you what it is. So I was doing the ascending run as per normal. But when I get to that 9th fret of the B, instead of dropping down to the 4th of the G and doing the riff down, instead of doing that, we're then going to go to the high E string at the 7th fret and do that, then 9, 7 on the B, and then go 8th fret on the G, 7th of the B, 8th on the G, down 2 frets to the 6th fret, and then into an F sharp major chord where we're just going to add in that suspended sound. And then we'll be well on our way into the next chorus. So let's say, for example, we're in a band scenario, you've got a second guitar player, you're performing the song live, and you just want to pad out some of those fiddly guitar parts. I always think it's a great idea to come in at the pre-chorus and jam out a G sharp minor, then to an E major, to a B major, then again G sharp minor, back to E, then up to F sharp major, and then we can go into the riff if we like. At this point we're then going to do one of two things. Either we'll go back into the verse, in which case we can drop the rhythm guitar out, or we'll be going into the full-blown chorus if you like, in which case you can both play the chords for this one, which will be E major, E minor, and then B major, and then again, and then at this point we'll be going into the instrumental section. And if you're not doing the lead guitar part, again it's a great idea to go through those pre-chorus guitar chords, G sharp minor to E and then B, and keep doing that until the appropriate time comes where you jump back up to the F sharp major. just going to talk about the instrumental section, and it starts off the back of that chorus going into a G sharp minor chord. And for this I like to do again a shortened version of it, sort of a Hendrix type idea. I've got my ring finger at the 6th fret of the D there, and then I've got my index finger barring the 4th fret G, B and E. And we're going to have a little melody inside that chord. It just sounds like this. So you see there I'm putting my pinky finger on the 6th fret of the E there, and then off again. And if we can stretch, we're going to put our pinky finger over to the 7th fret of our B as well. And then we're going to go into phrase number 1, which sounds like this. Just a nice descending run there. We're going to go from the 7th fret of the E to the 6th to the 4th, and then 6, 4 again, and then 7 on the B, 4, 7. Moving on into phrase number 2, we're going to be going higher up the neck now, up to the 11th fret of the high E string, and we're going to go 11, 9, 7, and then 9, 7, and then we'll go 9, 7, 9 on the B there. And then we'll pause for just a moment, and then we'll go 7, 9 on the B, 7 on the E, then 9, 7 on the B. And together it makes this. Moving on into phrase number 3 then, we're just going to play this. And that's going to be 8th fret there of the G, pinky finger going over to the 11th fret of the D, then back to the 8th fret of the G, middle finger coming over to the 9th, pulling back to the 8th, then pinky finger back to the 11th fret of the D, middle finger going to the 9th there. Afterwards we're then going to jump even higher up the neck for phrase number 4, and it just sounds like this. So for that we're going to be in around the 16th and 14th frets there. We're going to start by pulling off our ring finger to our index finger there on the high E string, and we're going to do that 3 times. And you can either pluck that each time or pluck it once and do the rest of the pull-offs. Either way, we're then going to go over to our B string now and do the same thing but do it twice. Then go to the 16th fret of the G and slide that down to the 13th. Moving on into phrase number 5 then, we're going to be doing a sliding run up and down the neck. It just sounds like this. So we'll be starting from the 13th fret there, going up to the 15th, then up 1 fret to the 16th, up 2 frets to the 18th, and then up 2 frets again to the 20th fret now, and then back down 2 frets, back down another 2 frets, then back down just the 1, and then back down again. 13th fret now, we're back at our starting position, and then we're going to go down again another 2 frets. So now we're at the 11th fret, and then drop it down again another 2 frets to the 9th, and then down another 1 fret there, and now we're going to be at the 8th fret. Our 6th and final phrase is just going to sound like this. Middle finger hammering onto the ring finger there, 8th fret to 9th fret, and then pulling it off, and then pulling that off down 2 frets to the 6th fret, and then repeat it again. And then we'll be back in. So that was my lesson on the Stone Roses, I'm the Resurrection, part number 1. I can't wait to have a look at the instrumental next, it's going to be a big one.